revenue implications of GST. Revenue implications. There was a question on this, and I tried to explain on that day, but most of the people, they are unable to understand what exactly is happening in this entire GST. See, you are all aware about the GST, how the GST is worked and how the GST is implemented, and how GST removes an effect on tax or cascading effect, and how we have decided the rates. We have 5 different rates, but in total we are having 8 different rates. That gold and precious metal is one aspect, and including cess, it will come to another aspect. So those things are not necessary, but in general, the most of the items are classified into 5 categories: 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, and some include 28% cesses, some may not include 28% cesses. So gold is having some, for your information, 28% plus cesses one aspect. Gold is 3%. Gold is 3%, and the rough precious and semi-precious stones is 2.5%. Rough, precious, and semi-precious. In total, how many? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Total 8. But generally, we don't call these 3 as slabs, only these 5 as slabs. But if you're looking into the exact structure, how many different taxes we are paying means we are paying 8 different taxes. Okay. So actually, we have said like it is a one nation, one tax. One tax. Now the tax is one, but not everyone is paying the same amount of tax. Tax is one, that is only GST. All the remaining items are subsumed into this GST. But the problem is, it is not the one tax that you are, one rate that we are paying. The rate is different, varied from person to person or item to item. So why actually we have brought these 5 different things? Because GST means it is one single rate for all. One single rate for all, whether it is a chair or a camera or mobile or paper or anything. But the government at that point of time has thought, that if you charge the same person at a same rate, that too in a developing countries like India, that too these are regressive nature, it's not correct. Have they on this? Do you know how to on? Just go and on those switches, we'll see how it will. Okay. Because after completion of GST, I did not take any review on this. You know how we have started in the year 2017, some changes, but you need to understand the developments. So, so the rationale behind this 5 different things is, at that point of time, the finance minister Arun Jaitley has said, so we cannot tax the people who are flying in the air, and the people who are wearing the Hawaii chappals cannot be taxed at the same rate. The people, they said like the जो लोग हवाई में उड़ते, जो लोग हवाई का चप्पल पहनते, cannot be taxed at the same rate. So a person is traveling in the air, that means a rich person cannot be taxed. A rich person cannot be taxed at an equivalent rate like how a poor man. That is the reason why we have devised it into 0%, 5%, 12%, 8%, and 28%. But we kept one thing in mind while we are deciding this entire rate structure called revenue neutral rate. Revenue neutral rate. So what does it mean, revenue neutral rate? You have to fix a rate in such a way that it should not affect your revenues. Because Already there was a tax buoyancy in our economy. I'll tell you what is tax buoyancy. Already there was a tax buoyancy in our some figure of tax buoyancy is there in our economy, and that should not get disturbed, because you want to implement a GST and you want to make it so easy, but not at the cost of your own revenues, not at the cost of your own revenues. So tax buoyancy means the tax collection to GDP. It's not tax to GDP ratio. Don't take it in that way. It's not simply tax to GDP ratio. But the point is, as your economy is growing, your taxes should also grow. As your economy is growing, your taxes should also grow. But at what rate they are growing is important. That is what we call it as tax buoyancy. Suppose if an economy has increased at 5% of rate, then how your taxes are growing? Are they growing at a higher pace? Are they growing at a lower pace? So that is also important, because when you don't collect the more and more taxes, then there is no use in developing, then there is no use in growth for the government. The growth may provide benefits to you as a people, but it cannot do anything to the governments. Government need resources. So that is the reason why. So when we are prior to the implementation of GST, what was our tax buoyancy? And post implementation, what should be our tax buoyancy? And the tax buoyancy should be in an increasing mode. Just assume if it is 0.6 year, it has to become 0.7 and 0.8 in the coming years. Then only the governments can really benefit. While we are fixing this revenue neutral rate, we make sure that these tax buoyancy numbers should be in a right direction, not in a retrospective way, not in a retrograde direction. So that is what the intention to fix this revenue neutral rate. That is what the intention to fix the revenue neutral rate. So why you need a revenue neutral rate? Revenue neutral rate is necessary whenever you are bringing a new reforms in the entire tax structure. What rate of tax we must fix it? What rate of tax we must fix it? So before you arriving to that number, you must consider this figure, tax buoyancy. And if your number is in such a way that it increases the tax buoyancy, or at least it maintains the level at which prior to the implementation of GST, then that is fine. So what was this revenue neutral rate then? So revenue neutral rate, some people like former economic advisor suggested some 17.5, but later we have come to 15.5% of tax. 15.5. This was, we kept it in mind. So 15.5. This should be the revenue neutral rate. That means on average item, this must be the tax. Earlier we have paid to some extent 12% on services, 30% on some of the things, 28% on something, 2% on something. Like we have different taxes and we have paid different taxes. But when you're subsuming all the taxes into one, your tax rate should be this. Your tax rate should be this. If you don't maintain this tax rate now, then you don't meet your tax buoyancy, then automatically your tax collections will come down. But when I say revenue neutral rate is 15.5%, now again the same question comes, can I tax a normal salt and also an aeroplane at the same rate? No, I should not, because this is not a developed country like India. So then what I have to do? I have to keep some of the items which are used by the normal people to the lower level of 15.5%. And I'll keep some of the items which are used by the rich people above the 15.5, so that I can compensate this loss with this profit. And again, I'll come to the figure 15.5. So it's an average. Average for what? That point you have to mention it. It's a rate, but without causing any effect in the revenue collections. That is how you are fixing. The philosophy behind this fixing rate is that. And don't think like we have fixed the revenue neutral rate on the average of this 0, 5, 12, 18. No. It's not the average of all these things. First, we have fixed this. And in order to come to this effective rate, we have divided the rates into 0, 5, 12, 18. So it is not the, because Vinu said it's an average. The moment if you think average, you think like it's 0 plus 12 plus 5 plus 18 plus 28 by, no, it's not like that. First we come to this figure. This is our figure. And if at all I want to distribute this number among poor and rich and middle class, how can I do that? And we come to a category called 0, 5, 12 accordingly. Is it clear?
They are thinking of one tax. So that one tax is this one. But we can't give same tax to all people. So they distribute it.
That's what. Okay. Oh. So now, okay, this was 15.5 I said. But after GST implementation, lot of demands from different sector. These people are something, that people, and there was a change, complete change. Change in the sense there is no change in the rate structure, but there is a change in the items. Some of the items we started adding to 0%. Immediately textile industry come to the finance minister and ask, no, textile is taxed at high percent, you please reduce it. And there is a thread must be taxed at 12%, and mobile cover must be taxed at 5%. Some people can know that this is also a product. So likewise, we have brought so many changes. And whenever we are doing the changes, unfortunately, we forgot this concept of revenue neutrality. We thought like, okay, in this process, it will improve the economy and so that we will collect more and more taxes. But you must understand, before do all this adjustment, revenue neutral rate is a basic thing for you, because after all, you are a government, you need taxes. You are not an industrialist, you are not a public, you are a government. Your first focus should be revenue. And when we do all these adjustment, and after all the adjustments, now the effective rate has come to 11.6 instead of 15.5. The revenue neutral rate has now dropped to 11.6, but not 15.5. Now simply you can understand 11.6 means how much tax that the government is going to lose. That means now you have added more and more items into the 5% and 12%, and you have reduced the items in the 18 and 28. That is a problem. So is it loss or a profit to the government? It's a loss. It's loss both to the union government and as well as state government. And simply you may ask, sir, if state government loses, then definitely they will get a compensation, no? How come it is a loss to the state? But you need to understand, see, take the case of Kerala. What is the average, the base year that we have fixed? 2015-16. What was the growth rate we have fixed? 14%. 14%. See, actually how I'll come to that compensation part also. I'll explain because some, but anyhow, so how the compensation will be paid? Compensation will be paid for 5 years, you know, from 2017 to 2022. How they will pay the compensation? They took base year as 2015-16. So they have taken 2015-16 as a base year. So 2015-16, just assume Kerala's revenue is 1 lakh crore. Just assume 1 lakh crore. 14% growth means in 2000, because when you have started in the year 2017, you don't have a complete figures of 16 and 17. So what we thought is, from 2015-16, 1 lakh crore, how in 2016-17 it becomes 14% on that 1 lakh crore. That means 1,14,000 crore it becomes in 2016-17. Now we have implemented in 2017, no? So 2017-18, what will be the revenue? That 1,14% plus 14% of that 1,14%. So that should be the income in 2017-18. And if anything loss, that means if you collect anything less than that, then the remaining amount will be given by union government. But it is always necessary to think that Kerala will be always in deficit compared to the 14%. Maybe Kerala can collect 16 and 17%. And if the Kerala collect that 1,14,000 plus 14% exactly, then they don't get any compensation. And if they get 13%, then they will get the compensation of that 1 point difference. But if they get 15% or 16%, they don't give it return to the union government. No, it is with them. So you can ask. So the point is, if the effective revenue neutral rate comes, then if it is up to the 14% loss, central can compensate. But instead of 18% of growth, if you just collected 17% growth, it is lost to the state. Did you get the point here? I'll explain it again. See, the question I was posed is, the effective revenue neutral rate has come down. It is not only lost to the union, it is also lost to the states. This is what my statement. But immediately I myself posed another question. Sir, already states are compensated with the union government. How come states will getting into the loss? This is my question. See, union government can compensate the state only to certain extent. To certain extent. To what extent? To the growth rate of 14%. Suppose with the base year, on average, every year it has to increase 14%. If the increase is 14%, if there is any drop in this 14%, then union can compensate. Just assume a case of some state like Gujarat. Since 2017 itself, it is maintaining a growth rate of 15% and 16%. Just assume. Do you think that the Gujarat state is getting any compensation? No, they don't get any compensation. But because of revenue neutrality, instead of 16, now Gujarat is getting 15. It is the last to Gujarat only, no? Are you clear? Are you clear? Because when the growth rate of a particular state taxes is above 14%, they no need to depending on the center. They will depend on the center only if your growth rate is less than 14%. When your growth rate is less than 14%. And just assume I'm giving a figure to you. Kerala in the last, take it from 2011-12, just assume 12-13, 13-14, 14-15, 15-16. Just assume Kerala is on average maintaining some 13.6% every year to year. 14%, 13.8%, 12%, 13%. See, if your growth rate is like this, then definitely you are the beneficiary. Because earlier also your growth rate is same. Now, even if you don't maintain the growth rate of 14, you will be compensated with 14%. Even if your growth rate is not 14%, you will be compensated with the 14% because that was the rate fixed at the all India level by the Act itself. So now because of this revenue neutrality, just assume that Kerala collection has come down to 12 instead of the normal 13-14. But anyway, they are going to get compensated with the union government. They will get 14% collection, 14% rate. So then there is no loss to Kerala. But to whom it is loss? Gujarat, because earlier they are maintaining a growth rate, corresponding figures I'm writing, some 16%, 17%, 17.5%, 16.5%. Now suddenly you say like, I will compensate only up to 14%. Okay, then there is no issue because anyway they are collecting more than that. But instead of 17.5 and 16, because of this lower figure, if it comes down to 14.2%, did really center compensate? No, because you are already crossed the figure 14. Simple point, but took a lot of time to understand. See, that is the reason why I'll tell you, simply you cannot write the statements. While writing the
The correction is still missing about this revenue neutral rate and the growth rate.
Revenue neutral rate and
Coming down of the revenue neutral rate, how affects the growth?
How it don't affects the growth. I'll come to that. It don't affects the growth. It is affecting revenues of the government. See, why this coming down of revenue neutral rate don't affects the growth? You are growing at the normal rate, but you are collecting less. You are growing at a normal rate. I'll come to that growth figure later. Normally, you are growing at a normal rate, but unfortunately, you are unable to collect the required amount of tax. Why you are not collecting? Because you have readjusted the basket in such a way that you are now collecting less amount of tax and more amount of items. That is the reason why your effective rate has come down. So it is going to affect some of the states, though union is compensating to some extent. Anyway, it's a loss to the union because no one is going to compensate the union. Because the revenue neutral rate has come down. Now I'll put in another question. Just observe now. See, now just assume your GDP is 100%, 100 rupees. Initial revenue neutral rate I was fixed as 15.5%. Then what is the tax? 15.5 rupees. Now just assume my GDP has increased to 150. Now whatever I said, my revenue neutral rate has come down to 11.6. Just I'm taking it as 11. Then what is the tax? What is the tax? Okay. So now, even though my revenue neutrality has come down, but my tax collection increased. But when it's possible, when your GDP increases abnormally, it's possible. But the question is, does your really GDP is maintaining such a high amount of growth rate in the last few years? No. We are maintaining in a normal rate. Earlier also it's 7%. Now also it's 7%. Because of COVID-19, it has come to 6% and even negative. We went to negative also. So the point you need to understand is, as the GDP growth rate is not so high, the effect, suppose just assume like, okay, our GDP has not increased, the same thing. If 11 point, then it comes to 11 rupees. That means your GDP has not increased to that extent to what it has to. Moreover, revenue neutrality has come down. This doubling effect has created a loss to both the center and as well as the state. Is it clear? Still you are getting some doubts? See, the GDP, on GDP, this is revenue neutrality. If your GDP increases correspondingly, then your tax collection increases. But your GDP is increasing, but not to such an extent. Suppose, see, tell me the 7% of 100, 107. Tell me 15.5% of 107. If you have a calculator. Huh? 16.5. Okay. See, sorry, Indian rupees. Now, what is the growth rate from 15 to 16? Okay. There is a growth rate in GDP. There is an increase in tax. So there is an increase in tax rate also. If your GDP grows at 7%, your tax will grow at 7%. If your GDP grows at 8%, your tax will grow at 8%. If your GDP grows at 10%, your tax will grow at 10%. Buoyancy is constant. Now, what I'm saying is, even if your GDP is increasing, if it has come to 11.6, then definitely this comes down. And it is not only the revenue neutrality that has come down, but moreover the growth rate has also reduced. So a double effect. This has reduced, this is also reduced. Because of that, your entire collections has reduced. When I say collections reduced, the collections rate reduced, not collections in absolute number. Year to year, definitely income will be increases. Year to year, whether you implemented GST or whether you don't implement GST, indirect tax collections will increase. But what you need to see is the increase in growth of that thing you need to see. Okay, that growth rate earlier it was 6%, 5%, but now it is only 2 to 3%. Because of what? Because of reduction in revenue neutrality, because of not in sufficient amount of growth. So because of that, both union and as well as state revenues has come down. Again, when I say revenues come down means not revenues in absolute number, revenues in terms of growth. Is it clear? This point? So the point I'm trying to say is you will simply write the statements without understanding and without looking into its effect. But for every statement, there is a lot of story. Okay? Okay? So because you might get a doubt why state's income reduces when somebody is there to compensate, but it's not to all. Okay? So that is one aspect. Now, okay? Average? Growth number is 14%. See, if Kerala is collecting 1 lakh, no, 14% on them. Gujarat is collecting 1,50,000, no, 14% on them. Andhra is collecting 1,30,000. Rate is same. It was 14%. It's only 5 up to 5 years, no, it was fixed. There is no scope to change it.
Some states
it will be beneficial for them. See, the states prior to the implementation of GST, if they are maintaining more than 14 and now it is maintaining less than 14, it is loss for them. But the states, like I have given an example of Kerala, but don't take it. Those who are consistently maintaining 12, 13, 12, 13, it's better for them. It's better for them because you need an average national level figure, no? And that's what. So that is what. Now, so if you want to remove this anomaly, GDP has to be grown. So GDP growth is not depending on the GST council because the government has to take a different fiscal measures and growth story is something different. And that to pandemic, no one is having any control on pandemic. So we can't discuss the growth now. But at least what we can do is how can we increase this revenue neutrality? That you can do. But even after increasing the revenue neutrality, if your growth is not so high, then we can't help. We need to take some more steps. That's a different story. But just assume after pandemic, GDP growth will entering into normal level. But you need to change this GST structure. Whatever the changes that you have made under this basket, you have done without looking into its consequences. But now you need to change the GST structure. To what level you need to change the GST structure? Some people are saying, like, and even Finance Commission has also recommended on this, 0%, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28%. No? So what they are saying is, and before that, just I want to give a number before getting into that. 7% of the items are on. Okay, anyway, I'll give it in the class, that videos you will get. This is not necessary for today's discussion, but I'll give it in. Anyway, you are going to get that classes, no? I told you, there you will get, okay? But, so what you have to do is, most of the people, what they are suggesting is, instead of going for these 5 rates, what you do is, you make it 15, instead of 0, 5, 12, make it, 8% and 15% you do, and combinedly you do it 30%. Do it 8%, 15% and 30%. And if you want to give any exemption to anything, you can give an exemption. Exemption list is something different, that means 0%. But on the above, just instead of 5 and 12, just make 8. Instead of 12, 18, make 15. Instead of 28, make 30. And if you fix these three rates, and if you adjust the basket accordingly, so that we can reach to again our normal revenue neutrality of 15.6 or 16%. So is it clear? So why you need a revision in the GST rate structure? Because to meet the RNR. Because to meet the RNR. But immediately you can ask me, sir, if you want an RNR, why can't you go for directly fix one rate of RNR? Again, you have to come to the earlier explanation that we cannot tax everybody in this country at a same rate. We want one rate, but one rate you can't fix it. That is why we are following a different strategies to make sure that the effective rate comes to that particular thing. In that, some poor should get benefit, and some luxury, the people who are spending on luxury items have to spend some more.
Now this slabs.
Ah.
Gold is being taxed at the fixed.
Ah.
Gold.
Ah.
Possible.
Is it possible? No. Which one? Have you there? I have given initially the rate. Are you there? Have you written all these tax slabs I have given? Total, how many are there? 8. I have given what are the 8. So you have to be here by time. Okay. You are not there. So I told you total 8 on gold and precious metals is something, 28 plus cess is different. But those things you don't call it as a slabs because it's a very exceptional thing and only for 1 or 2 items. Okay, and these generally you call it as slabs because they are not going to have a huge impact on our revenue, total revenues. It's very limited impact. Okay. Okay, so you need again a revision. Why you need a revision? RNR, revenue neutrality. Okay. Yeah. Next. See, again, don't write all this story. The point I'm saying is keep this story in your mind and make your statement properly. Huh? Next. Next. Next, GST compensation. Next, GST compensation. And just imagine if I explain these concepts in an online, I don't know how we could clear your doubts and all. That is one of the problem with the mode. I could have explained simply like within 5 minutes, I could have completed this, but I don't know whether you understood it or not. But anyhow, compensation now. See, compensation is one more issue. See, what is that compensation issue? Compensation issue. I said we will take base year as 15-16. So I am writing for your convenience 2017-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22. So in these 5 financial years, at the rate of 14% growth from year to year, year to year, year to year, year to year. But how you will take the 17-18 from 16-17? How you will take from 16-17? Not exact numbers of 16-17, 14% growth on 15-16. That you have to take. So, but anyhow, let's forget about it. But year to year 14, year to year 14, year to year 14, year to year to 14. Now, okay, after completion, you can ask your doubt. Now, okay, this went fine. This went fine. Here some problem came. And these 2 years are some problematic years. You know what is the problem? The problem is pandemic. Problem is pandemic. And how you will compensate this amount of money to the states? There was a special provision in the GST itself, like compensation cess. So the government of India must collect compensation cess on luxurious item, and that will be kept it in a separate fund, and from that fund itself they will compensate. From that fund itself it compensates. Suppose if that fund is not sufficient, then you have to raise more and more amount of money. But just imagine there is a surplus in that fund. That means after 5 years, still some 70,000 crores are left in that fund. Then what you need to do? 50% will be taken away by the government of India in its divisible pool. Not again central government alone. The remaining amount after 5 years, 50% of that remaining amount will be getting into the divisible pool of taxes. 50% will be distributed to the states according to the formula, whatever you are devising it. Are you clear? But that's a very extraordinary case. No need to discuss. It's not the relevance of today, but you need to, because you'll get a doubt. No, sir, okay, if there is a deficit, they will collect more. But if there is a surplus, that will be shared between, okay. but we haven't arisen to that condition. It will be only after 2021-22. But what happened is 2019, 20 and 2021, it was a pandemic year. It was a pandemic year. Now there is no revenue collections. Just assume, I'm giving a figure because you need to understand it clearly. Just assume normally all the states in this country collect normal revenue, indirect taxes from the GST as, just assume, I'm giving a cumulative figure. Just assume 30 lakh crore. All the states collective number. And if you consider at a growth rate of 14%, it should be 30%. Suppose just assume the collective number has come down to 26 lakh crore. Just assume. Then you have to compensate it to the 14%. That means you need to, if you pay 4 lakh crore to all the states, it's fine. If you consider, just for, I'm taking the year 2021. For the year 2021, if you consider that 14% growth rate, it should be 30 lakh crore. But you have collected only 26 lakh crore, and it is your responsibility to pay that remaining 4 lakh crore. And don't think that every state has a loss. No, some states may collect more than that, some states collect less than that. But on average, you need to pay 14%. So the burden on exchequer is 4 lakh crore. And that the union don't compensate it from its own revenues, only from compensation cess. But because of pandemic, what happened is, instead of 30, we are only able to collect 15 lakh crore. Sir. Instead of 30, we are only able to collect 15 lakh crore. Now, what the state has said is, you have legislated an act in the year 2017. You said that at any cost, we are going to compensate you the 14%. And at that point of time, we don't know we will experience the pandemic. Now, please compensate the remaining 15 lakh crore to us. But that entire 15 lakh crore is not just because of GST. It is because of the pandemic. Just think there is no GST. There was a pandemic. Who will compensate the states? No one compensate. But just because you have implemented a GST, and unfortunately we don't know, something happened, and because of that revenue has fallen. Now the states are asking, no, there is a legal commitment from you. So please give all these things. Center said, and even Kerala finance minister also written an article on this. See, but we must use some common sense. How can center will compensate that remaining 15 lakh crore? And okay, just assume center is compensating. From where center has to collect that 15 lakh? Again, it has to collect from the public. So what they have said is, okay, I can understand your problem, because you also don't have the finances. So we will come to a proposal. What is that proposal? The proposal is, we will divide this entire, okay, there is a 15 lakh crore loss, no? We will divide this loss into two aspects, two categories. One is loss arising because of pandemic, loss arising because of GST implementation. Loss arising because of pandemic, loss arising because of GST implementation. So this is GST, this is pandemic. I have divided it into. Now what the center has said is, whatever the loss that we have arisen because of pandemic, I'll take it as a loan, back-to-back loan. This was a term normally you will get in the newspaper. Back-to-back loan. Back-to-back loan in the sense, I don't use it. I'll take from somebody and directly give it to you. This is what we call it as back-to-back loan. So back-to-back loan component will get 1.59 lakh crore. I think all the installments has given. When it comes to the GST, when it comes to this GST loss, no, anyway we are recovering. And one more thing, please remember, when I'm compensating this, there is no rule that whatever the tax that you have collected as a GST compensation says, you need to compensate only from that year. No, it's not compulsory. Suppose in this financial year I have collected 2 lakh crore. So I have to use only this 2 lakh crore money to compensate this year. No, this is a common fund. All the 5 years money will add in this, and from this full you can pay any amount of money in any financial year. There is no rule. So what they said is, As far as the pandemic is concerned, I'll pay it as a loan. So loans are given. And when it comes to the GST loss, I'll compensate like normal, but it may take some time. It may take some time. Why they have said, you may ask me, sir, this should also be given as a loan? No. Why they said from this? Because this is going to have an effect at fiscal deficit of union government. Because this loan component is going to have an effect on fiscal deficit at the union level. So they carefully thought, no, it's not possible. We will give it. You can understand the state because you are the one who are going to collect the taxes. You know what is happening at the ground level. So please wait. But before that, I'll give this loan component to you. That is how they said. Now, who will pay these loans again? Then union said, okay, you no need to pay, I no need to pay. What we will do is, actually in the provision I said, no, up to 2021-22 I will compensate, and up to 21-22 we will compensate, we will collect the GST compensation cess. So in order to meet this, we will extend the GST compensation period. That means even in 2022-23, 23-24 also we can collect the GST compensation cess to meet the losses up to 21-22, but not the losses in 22-23, 23-24. Is it clear? So to meet the losses in this, now we are extending the compensation period, not the compensation time, because of pandemic. Is it okay? Is it okay? Listen carefully, don't write while I'm explaining. If you write no, you will lose that concentration and you will miss the point. But once you understand, no, you can make a note it later. Ask. Okay. Now, what is the problem with this compensation? I'll come. I have explained the mechanism. Now I'll tell you the problem, how it affects the central government. See.
They are going to extend this compensation period to collect the compensation
Yes, only.
They are not going to repay, compensate 14% beyond 20%.
Yes, that's what. Okay. Now the problem in this compensation is see, we have said 21-22. What our normal assumption is, by the time of 21-22, entire GST will be streamlined. So investment comes and everyone will have a good facility, and also no loss will occur. They will reach to normal level. But even today, some states are depending on the compensation cess only. Even today, consistently. Like Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, these are the states. Suppose even after 21-22, if they are still not maintaining a growth rate of 14%, who are going to compensate them? They are compensating. But because of the GST glitches, if they are not on par with the normal states in GST collections, and if they feel that because of GST only our revenues are deprived, then how we are going to address that problem? Are they suffer the loss just because for the sake of implementation of GST? Can we say to people of that state, no, you have to sacrifice your revenue because we want GST? No. This is one problem that we are going to get, because some states are still depending on that. Some states are still depending on that. Now, second point is anyway, whatever the compensation that we are going to make, we are only doing it from the GST compensation cess, not from the union government. But when compensation is possible only when you collect the sufficient amount of compensation cess. And in a bad year like pandemic, just because to collect the compensation cess, you cannot increase the cess to 50% or 60%. You can't do that. You have to postpone your programs to next year. That is how you need to do. But you cannot increase the GST compensation cess. But by that time, that means till you normalize that compensation collection, you have to adjust the states, no, like how you have done in this case. You can't say to the states like, no, there is no, so I don't give you, please wait. You can't say that, because you have some responsibility. Not that you have to do it compulsory. As a nation, you have some responsibility. If the states not performing well, then obviously it is affecting on the center. Now center has to adjust from somewhere, like how it has adjusted. So when you are not able to collect the enough compensation, when your economy is not growing enough, it will be very difficult to compensate the state from compensation cess. Then automatically it creates some sort of stress on union finances. Not that union is giving from its own pocket, but somewhere it has to adjust. That adjustment will have a stress on union, not on the states. Are you clear? So this is one revenue implication, a stress on fiscal condition of union. Some states are going to get the losses. And you can write a positive point. Some of the states are collecting good amount of revenue. Okay. Next. Now there is a concept called inverted duty structure. Inverted duty structure. Inverted duty structure. See, the question was actually asked in 2019, but in the 2019 answer could have been different, because we don't have all these problems, no. So in UPSC questions are static, but answers are dynamic. Okay, but anyhow, inverted duty structure. See, what does it mean, inverted duty structure? Inverted duty structure means raw material 1, raw material 2, raw material 3, raw material 4, final product. That means if you want a final product, you need 4 components. 4 components need to be assembled and you will get the final product. Just assume. The tax on final product is, just assume, it's 5%. Tax on raw material 1 is 5%. Tax on raw material 2 is 12%. Tax on raw material 3 is 0%. Tax on raw material 4 is 18%. He will pay 5% tax, but that money will be transferred to this person. And the above he need to pay only 7. Again it will be transferred, again it will be transferred, again it will be transferred. So at each and every level, the input tax credit that person is getting from whatever the thing earlier somebody has paid, and you need to pay your own tax. Suppose, just assume I got an input tax credit of 10 rupees and I have to pay my own tax called 15 rupees. That means I have received 10, now I have to pay only 5 instead of 15. Now this 15 again shifted to the next level. Suppose, just assume he has to pay 25 rupees. Already he got 15, now he has to pay only 10 rupees. Now this 25 has shifted to another person, but he has to pay only 10 rupees of tax. He has to pay only 10 rupees because the tax on the final item is 10 only. He is getting 25 rupees. He is paying only 10 rupees. That means this final one is getting 15 rupees extra from the government. He is not contributing anything to the government. Did you get the point? This has happened because final product of the goods in some of the goods are taxed at less percent compared to its raw materials. Because of that, what happened is, instead of paying to the government, you are refunding, you are claiming more in terms of ITC from the union government. This is one more loss. So you need to remove this inverted duty structure. Either you have to increase the tax level here, or either you have to reduce the tax level there. Is it clear? Inverted duty structure. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Next. GST base has increased, tax collection base is increased. That is one positive aspect that you can write. Base. And still there is no this GSTN validation fully. Validation in the sense, see, ultimately now we have to end up with how much we are producing, how much taxes we are collecting, and how much GDP we are getting. That is what streamlining. Our thing is, because when I've explained the GST structure, I said clearly, now there is no route for escape. Every product has to be accounted. Every product has to be accounted. But are we streamlined to that extent? No, because of still software glitches, that negative point, but it's not a revenue implication, it's an implication. Okay. Now, one more thing is bringing petroleum under GST. Bringing petroleum under GST. See, do you know what is the present tax structure of petroleum? And I have already told electricity and alcohol for human consumption completely out of GST. If you want to include them in the GST, you have to do a constitutional amendment. But whereas the petroleum products, aviation turbine fuel, diesel, whatever the thing, if you want to bring them under GST, it was already mentioned in the act, provided if GST council approves, they can bring it. Difference, understood? Okay. Okay. Do you know what is the tax structure on petroleum now? Basic excise duty. No. Okay. So prior to that, you just write one thing. Refiner. That means how much a refiner, at what price a refiner is getting. Second one is taxation by union government. So you generally will say like union excise tax. Normally you say union excise, but this is union. But union excise includes 4 different taxes. It's not a single tax. Whatever the union is collecting, it's not a single tax. 4 taxes, but we combinedly call it as union excise. So what are the 4 different taxes under union excise? Basic excise duty, special additional excise duty, special additional excise duty, special additional excise duty, road and the customs included in refinery itself, because when refinery got there itself. C is road and infra cess, road and infra cess. I think you can understand what is cess. D, agricultural infra cess, agricultural infra cess, agricultural infra cess, agricultural infra cess. And online students, are you clear with the topics, whatever I'm explaining?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's fine. Because you are not asking doubts, that is why. Okay. So this is a union level taxes. Refinery, union excise. After that, dealer commission. Dealer commission. Okay. So whatever the dealer is commission. Next, 4th one is state VAT. State VAT. State VAT. So now I'll give, just assume till last few days prior to this reduction of taxes by union government, petrol was around 106, 107, even 110 also. At that point of time, normally, the 40 rupees was the original price of dealer, refiner. That means refiner is refining, and after refinery, immediately after refinery, the price of a petrol per liter is 40. Then union taxes starts. Union taxes are at that point of time around 32 rupees. Around 32. How much total? 72. 72 plus dealer commission is something 2 rupees or 3 rupees. How much it is? 75. 75. Again 30 rupees is state. How much? 105. Okay. So this is how the taxes collected for last so many months. 40 is the dealer price. You can't do anything here. Dealer commission, you can't do anything. Refinery and dealer. Now the taxation, if you see, almost equivalent, but center collected to some extent more. But I'll tell you the problem here. Why states are blaming center and why center is blaming the states? States tax is always ad valorem. States tax is always ad valorem. Ad valorem in the sense they will calculate, they will calculate the price here. What is the price up to that point? 75 rupees. So whatever maybe it is, whether it is 75 or whether it is 80 or whether it is 30 or whether it is 40, up to this point, that means refinery, central taxes, dealer commission. On this, the states normally collect it as a percentage. That means normally 20%. Just assume I'm giving a number, 20%. Normally the VAT of a state is 20%. That means whatever they are doing, so just assume 75%. So they are collecting 20%. That means 15 or 20 rupees. That is how they used to collect. And the state collection has increased. The state collection has increased because this total value has increased. Not that state has increased any tax as a percentage wise. Because if this value increases, no, automatically state taxes will increase. Not that state has increased anything, but because they are collecting ad valorem, because of this increase, automatically it has an effect on state revenue. Is it clear? Automatically state's revenues increases. State revenue, because it's a percentage, you know, it's a percentage. Some of the states has increased, but that is a different story. State's collection is ad valorem. Whereas union tax is it's absolute number. It's not ad valorem. It's absolute. Like I'll tell you the basic February 1, 2021 figure I have given. Basic excise duty was around 2.98 rupees, 2.98 rupees, 2 rupees, 3 rupees. Special additional excise duty. Sorry? Huh? Per liter only. Special additional excise duty was 11 rupees. Is 11 rupees. 11 rupees. Road cess was 18 rupees. Are you able to see these numbers? Or otherwise I'll write here. Some 2.98, 11 rupees, 18 rupees. And agricultural cess was just 2.5. How much comes in? How much comes it is? 18 plus 11, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. Okay. Just assume this is the number. So this is how center is collecting. So every number here is absolute number. It's not percentage. Every number here is absolute number. It's not percentage. Now I'll come to some of the arguments of union. Suppose if suddenly the prices in the international level increases. If the crude oil prices increases, no, Then immediately union government says, looking into my tax structure, am I increased any number? No, it's my absolute numbers, they are constant. And your tax is increased because you are collecting more, because instead of 40, it has become 60 here. So when international prices increases, it's very easy for the center to blame the states, because I haven't increased any amount because my numbers are absolute. Because of international level, in order to save your own people, you reduce your percentage so that the tax will become less. Have you understood this point? Have you understood?
Is there any cap for this percentage?
There is no cap. It's completely under state government. State can do any, state can fix any amount of rate. But what happened is, if the crude oil prices goes up, then union can blame the center in such a way. But now what the states are blaming is, your taxes at particular point of time, that means prior to 2000, they are always comparing 2014. Prior to 2014, your excise duty was around 6 or 7 rupees. Now it has come to 30 rupees. So you increase the thing. No, but what union is saying, again, what union is saying is, see, if you looking into my tax structure, basic excise duty, special additional duty, these are all part of divisible pool. Whatever I am collecting, again in that 41% again comes to you. I am not taking the whole money. Then states are saying, no, you are collecting more cess, like rural road and infrastructure cess and agricultural cess, because cess is completely for you. You are not going to share any cess with us, so you are collecting more tax. But what center is saying, see, after all I am collecting the cess for the road and infrastructure and agricultural infrastructure, where I will spend this amount of money, tell me. Will I spend in Prime Minister's home? Will I spend in Parliament? No, I have to spend again in the states. I have to lay a road in Kerala. I create an agricultural infrastructure in Tamil Nadu. I have to connect northeastern states. So where I'm spending this money? I'm again spending in the states only, no? Why you are bothering? But the only point is, the spending control will be in the union if it is a cess, and if you add it to the excess duty, then it will be given to the states. Now the states will have a power in spending that amount of money. But this present Modi government, they don't want that power to be given to the states because they may misuse it. But according to constitutionality, you cannot go on increasing the cesses, because it is something like depriving the rights of the states. Depriving the rights of the states. You are collecting more as a part of state cess, and you are saying, no, I am going to collect in your states itself. No, if you are saying like I am going to spend in your states, why can't you give it to the states? That is the reason why they want to collect it as a cess. You can add it in the excise, but if you add it in the excise and additional duty, it is something different. And when they have reduced recently, when they have reduced the prices, 5 rupees for diesel and 10 rupees for petroleum, I think, I don't know how many of you have read the paper. Union secretary said the reduction of the taxes on petrol and diesel is not going to affect the revenues of the states. That's what he said. That means, I'll tell you, he has reduced only the cess component but not tax component. If he reduce the cess component, then anyway the state share will be same. But instead of cesses, just assume the basic excess duty has make it 1 rupee, because in this 1 rupee, 41 paise should go to the states. So they haven't reduced this, but they have reduced this. And they are saying like, I am reducing this. So because of this reduction, states, you don't get any loss, because your amount is fixed. I am not reduced your own excise thing. Is it clear? In reality, in the sense, these are all the things and center is taking. Center should not supposed to take all these things. Which value? Value come down. Value come down. State share will see. State share here don't come down because the state's tax value don't come down. Overall price comes down. Overall price comes down. Wo- State's income again here I'll tell you state's income how it will affect. See, when you don't remove the structure, that means the basic excise and special additional, you kept it as a constant, but you have reduced only infrastructure cess. But because of this, there is no loss to the state revenue because I am not changed these two things because it is constant. But because of overall thing, you are collecting as an ad valorem, this comes down. This comes down. Because your ad valorem, no, instead of 75, now there is a reduction of 10 rupees, it comes only 65. Now you have to collect 20% on 65. 65. And when some of the states are said, when central government immediately reduce the 10 rupees and 5 rupees, it automatically reduces at the state level. It automatically reduces the state level. But some of the states try to take an advantage by increasing their tax. Increasing their tax percentage. Suppose because of this, suppose now it has become 16. And because of this, just assume the final petroleum product has come down from 105 to 95. Just assume. And how can you make it again 105? Instead of 20%, if you collect 22% or 23%, you can. So some of the states can do like that also. So that people think that prices are not changed. So these are all taxation rejigs. You need to understand. So how the center collects, how the state collects, and how it is happening. Okay, as a percentage and as an absolute term. Now, if you want to remove all these problems, petrol prices, okay, one day center is reducing, one day state is increasing, one day state is asking to reduce the center, one day center is blaming the center, states, one day they are adding cess, one day they are changing this excess. These are all problem comes. People not understood. And moreover, we don't know. And this Modi government has collected lot of amount of money from these taxes. Because the point here is they are saying like, okay, if the petrol, if it is 100, it's fine. Suddenly, because now we have deregulated the petrol and diesel prices. Earlier, prior to 2010, it was union decides what is the price of petrol and what is the price of diesel. But after 2010, petrol was decontrolled, and after 2015, I think 14, diesel was decontrolled. Now, whatever the international price, that will be reflected automatically. If the crude oil prices increases at the international level, petrol prices will increase because the refiner cost will increase. Now, the point is, suddenly the petrol has come down international level from 80 or 70 barrel to $40 per barrel. According to the reality, the petrol in the domestic market has to come from 70 to 40 rupees. 70 to 40. Just assume prior it is 70, and because of the international effect, it has to come down to 40. Then what center has done is, instead of making it 40, it has increased its taxes so that it has become again 70. That means 30 rupees center has collected as the tax. Center has collected as the tax. Why center has collected it as tax? What is the opinion of the center is, so if I allow 40 rupees, tomorrow if it becomes 80, then they will ask to compensate that. Because people mindset is, no, till recently we got for 40 rupees. Now how can we pay 80? So let half of the amount compensated by the government, then it will become a burden to the government. That is why they don't want to do that. But the problem is, when it become 106, have you reduced your taxes? You don't want to. So this entire logic is going on in this petrol and diesel. So the simple solution most of the people suggested is, it's better to bring petrol under GST. If you bring the petrol under GST, what will happen is that refiner, just assume 40 rupees, refiner is 40. After there is no other taxes, only GST. There is a dealer commission. If you want to add dealer commission here, prior to GST itself, dealer commission, there is GST. Now you know how many GST rates are there? 5, and if we are able to reform it, we will have only 3. Only 3. Now GST, sorry, petrol is such a public good. Now it has become a public good. Common man use it. Definitely you cannot tax it 28%. Like on par with the ACs and Benz cars, you cannot tax it. Either you have to tax it 18 or 15. Just assume you are taxing it 18 or 15%. This is the only tax you have to pay. Now we have collected 18 or 15% of the tax. Now in this 18 or 15% of the tax, we don't know whether they will collect it cess or not. Union government can have an every right to collect cess on any of the thing. But anyhow, if this 15 or 18 comes down, then what is the problem? I'll tell you. This 18 and 15 of GST, it will be divided it into CGST and SGST. CGST and SGST. Again in the CGST, something come to SGST because Finance Commission recommendation, some has to go. Now at present, how much we are collecting? 60 rupees we are collecting. 60 rupees we are collecting. If you compared with the total 100 rupees, what is your tax rate? 60%. 60%. Now what is the present rate? What is if you bring it under GST? 15%. The difference is almost 40-45%. 40-45%. And who are going to lose here? Both center will lose, state will lose, both will lose. But the problem is earlier, if the state want, they can increase and they can decrease their VAT. If a state thinks that I need more resources, state can increase. But if a state want to reduce the burden on the people, now they can reduce it. Just assume Kerala, there was a flood. Immediately Pinarayi Vijayan don't find any resource, and immediately he said, no, people of Kerala has to burden because we don't have resources. So I'm increasing 2% of the tax for petrol. He can collect. But now once it is placed under GST, if Kerala want more money, from where they will get? You are not supposed to increase it. Entire GST council has to approve that. The states which are not concerning with you, they have to approve it. So the problem is, it's not only a revenue loss, but it is also a decision-making power will be go to the GST council. That is the problem. That is the reason why state governments are not interested in bringing the GST petroleum products into GST. Is it clear? Everything? So because of this also they are going to, that is why they are not interested in bringing this. Because if they bringing to this, no, again, it is a loss. So these are some aspects. Okay, fine. I think I have taken a lot of time to explain this GST, but anyhow, if you understood, it's fine. Every component, inverted duty structure, compensation amount, revenue neutrality, this one, and some technical error on some states. Is it fine? Any specific doubts that you have with respect to this? I can clarify. Any doubts from online students?
Amrita IAS Academy.